So I saw this video when it came out and it's just too funny. Like, I never thought that we would get a Dear SEGA Part 2, but, you know, the sequel wasn't as good as the original, let's be honest, but this is still kind of funny. At first I looked at it and I was like, oh, this is just some guy's, like, fan fiction idea. It's not a big deal, right? But it's just the way that he expresses it. It's just so, like, it just feels like he doesn't... You'll see what I mean.
I have a problem with the modern Sonic conundrum. There are a huge number of video essays detailing the problems the mascot has had since he left the Mega Drive, and especially his stagnation in the Sonic forces to modern age. But in a nutshell, I mostly agree with them. The character has struggled to recapture his former glory, and though I've enjoyed many of his outings over the past decade, the character and series on its own feels unbelievably uninteresting to me at the moment, and I'm genuinely obsessed with the little blue dude.
I mean, is that really true if you don't care about him at all? I mean, there's still the comics, there's still fan works, which, you know, they're fan works, but there are things to like. There's a show coming, well, the show wasn't announced when this video came out, but I'd probably say he's a bit of a peg down from obsessed if he doesn't really care about anything at all other than the movie.
The success of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie has been the true highlight of the decade for the character in my opinion, and surprisingly it did so by leaving most of the character's established lore at the door.
That wasn't what made it a success though. It's successful because it was pretty good, it was well written, and if it had had more lore in it, nobody would have complained. More people, that's what people want for the second movie. They want more lore. They want Tails, they want Knuckles, they want all his friends, you know what I mean? Why does he think that getting rid of the lore was a good thing? It didn't have to be a Long Claw, it could have been the Underground family, even though that would have been weird, but he could have reinvented them. Or with the Queen and his brothers, and like, that could still be true, technically. They're the ones who lost him or something, or threw him out.
This proved to me at least that putting forward a clean slate for the character could never be more appropriate if the character really wants a fresh start.
Again, it didn't have to be a fresh slate, like none of it does. Like, it's not necessary. They just need better writing. Like, it's not like the story, it's not like the concept is bad.
Having grown up with the franchise, I am genuinely clamouring for a more mature take on Sonic.
He's really channeling his internal Dear SEGA here. He does mention it later, so let's get to that part.
The character is a nostalgic throwback to many, but while everyone was keen to take risks with him when he was at his biggest, these risks are seemingly now frowned upon, which is understandable when they don't necessarily pay off.
The problem isn't them taking risks with what they already have. The problem is that when they do take risks, they do it in the worst way possible, and they don't know what they're doing, and they like wash away everything you want. I mean, we'll talk about Sonic Boom in a bit, because it's kind of similar to this. I mean, not similar, but like, it's kind of a reboot. But that was just a dumb decision. Like, there was no reason to have Sonic Boom exist. It was just completely irrelevant. You could have just had the TV show and not have any games at all.
A few years back, I felt inspired by a video essay I found whilst browsing YouTube. The channel Good Blood created a video about rebooting Sonic the Hedgehog, and I found it particularly inspiring. Truth be told, I didn't agree with the opinions in the video. Some elements I thought misjudged what Sonic should be. It's unfortunate that toxicity towards the video led to it being taken down, but that video has always stayed with me.
So this video is pretty hilarious, the one he's talking about. Dear SEGA, if you haven't seen it, I'll link in the description. As he said, it was taken down though, so it's just re-upload. His video basically shows why people at the top, like the higher ups, make the stupid decisions that they do. He's looking at all this data and he's talking about, oh, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, well-rated games, sold a lot. So then we'll take that aspect and shove it in here and like, we'll do this to be more mature and like, it's just so hilarious. Which is why it's also hilarious that Mark here says he was inspired by that video, even though he admits that it really doesn't have anything to do with what Sonic should be, which is just crazy considering the concept that he puts forward. I'm only like 2 minutes in, I gotta hurry this up. Once we get to the concept part, I'll be a lot faster. He also says the video was taken down because of toxicity, and it was a shame, but like, was it a shame? Like, it was just so ridiculous, and it's probably something that people who don't even like Sonic would latch onto. The video was actually very well made in terms of how it looks. The visuals and transitions and editing. It was all well made and it's enjoyable to watch that aspect, but everything else is just laughable. As for Mark's video though, maybe this was like a pet project for Mark, and it just kind of like turned into this big thing that really got away from what it was supposed to be. I'm not really sure.
If you're really against Sonic changing stuff up and hated his video, I don't know, I really recommend switching this one off.
It doesn't make me angry, it's just kind of weird and kind of funny sometimes. I really went back and forth on whether I should make this video because it's just, I watched some of those like Garrulous 64 like rewrites and I was like, well, this fanfiction is kind of going a little off the rails, but I wouldn't make a video on it because there's no point. It's just like rewriting a story, trying to make it better. It's understandable. But this is just so far away from what Sonic is, and so is the original Dear SEGA video. It's kind of like watching a reality TV show and being like, wow, there are people who think like that?
So today I'm going to talk you through my idea for a Sonic the Hedgehog reboot, a new game that can stand on its own and would take Sonic in a new direction. Sonic is here and so is Eggman. The most important thing for me in this concept is to create a new world for these characters to be in conflict with each other, and to do this in a way where we actually feel for this character and the adventure he needs to go on. Let's look at the plot of the original Sonic the Hedgehog for one moment.
Okay, so instantly everything is wrong. He's basically saying everything's such a mess that he's just gonna like completely redo everything and just get rid of everything. Everything. 30 years of Sonic and he gets rid of pretty much everything. He pretty much keeps literally 5 things from Sonic the Hedgehog. He keeps Sonic, Eggman, the shoes, Metal Sonic, and like the theme of animals versus nature, pollution, all that stuff. 30 years and he takes all of it away for this reboot. And at that point, what is the point of this being a reboot at all? He's going back to Sonic 1, he's looking at the manual, and he's making his reboot based off that. That doesn't really make any sense because it was a very different time, it doesn't really work, but let's hear him out.
Crush Dr. Robotnik. Dr. Ivo Robotnik, the mad scientist, is snatching innocent animals and turning them into evil robots. Only one tough dude can put an end to the demented scientist's fiendish scheme. It's Sonic, the real cool hedgehog with a spiked haircut and power sneakers that give him super speed. That's a loose plotline as a basis, but it's very effective and easy to understand. Eggman is the evil scientist messing with the environment and nature itself, and his wrongdoing is undone by Sonic, the cool dude with a pair of trainers that runs fast. This has always felt like the backbone of Sonic from his original era to me, and other media built upon this template, whether it was going for the freedom fighters approach or giving the hero some unorthodox origins. At his heart, whether you like it or not, he was always a bit of an eco-warrior. This plotline was abandoned in favour of quite random elements the further the character went, and instead Sonic games became focused on giant monsters, government cover-ups, time travel, and lackluster plots that barely even took themselves seriously.
Lost World took itself pretty seriously actually, but anyway. He's obviously trying to find the core of Sonic, like what is Sonic really, but that's not really the case. Sonic isn't really what he was in the classic era. It's not really who he is anymore. As soon as Adventure happened, that Sonic, as everyone knew him, was kind of just done. He evolved, and you can't really like unevolve, like you're Digimon or something. There are a lot of people out there, me included, who played the 3D Sonic first, and so much of what Sonic is from the 3D era. That's when he became a full-fledged character. Whereas someone like Mario, he's just like 3D and that's it. He still talks like he did. He doesn't have a personality really. You know, he's just the same as always. But Sonic changed. He basically got like a soft reboot, and that's been around for like 20 years. And you can't really get rid of that unless it's like temporarily.
As we go further and further into experimental rooms, we get our introduction to Sonic. He's here in the flesh, in a similar appearance to how we know him now. He's being held in place on a treadmill by a large machine. His vitals are being monitored. He has a drip feeding him water and can be seen on a large screen alongside the miles per hour the treadmill is moving at. He is rocking the new Eggbotnik airspeed trainers, and this is an obvious test of the speeds these trainers can actually withstand. One more vial filtered into Sonic's DNA as he continues running. With a sudden increase in speed, Sonic pushes the capabilities of the treadmill so much, with the speed rising to an uncontrollable level, that he eventually destroys the treadmill. Sonic looks around at the environment and the different areas of the forest being worn down by the machines. He puts a piece of cloth he's pulled down round his neck as a scarf in reminder of his mission.
So you can see that it's pretty well put together, but if you want to watch the whole thing, obviously watch the original video. But basically, Eggman's the head of a corporation. I know, pretty new concept. Sonic is an animal that he's experimenting on. He experiments on a lot of animals, and there's something to do with these shoes, which is kind of weird, but basically he puts hedgehogs in shoes. And his experiment is a success, but because of that, Sonic can escape. I'm not really here to talk about the fanfiction side of it, more so with what it represents. And you can see just how little this has to do with Sonic in any capacity, because Sonic was always like a cocky meta character. He was about being cool and going fast. He was made to compete with Mario. And in all media he's ever been in, he's always kind of been there. He's not really this like soft-hearted guy who's like just out to do the right thing. You know, that's the thing that makes Sonic different from most other heroes, is that he's not about beating Eggman and like, oh, I saved the princess, I saved this, I saved the world. He's all about doing what he wants, and that sometimes means being selfish, not wanting to join the resistance and stuff like that. Making his origin story and the story of the game about this moral injustice that Sonic feels the need to correct is just not in his character at all, and not in the spirit of the games at all. He's far too laid back and quote-unquote cool for that. He doesn't save people because it's like an industrial pollution thing. He wants to do it. He wants to save people who are in distress, and that's all there is to it. That theme in the classic games is more about, it's like for you the player, oh, it's nature beating industrialism, isn't that like a cool theme? But for the characters, it's not about that at all in the slightest in any way. Sonic doesn't say that enslaving animals is bad, just like how Pokemon doesn't say enslaving animals is good.
He's still cool and calm, chewing the scenery, stylish in his moves and full of attitude, but his silence also hammers in his somewhat noble task and story. He is alone in this world, quite literally, as a solo anthropomorphic animal, and he feels a true connection with his home and ecosystem. His silence is a reminder of his task, which he is taking very seriously. He's a character that has been dumped into a world that is being visibly destroyed around him, and I think that quite honestly makes him a bit more relatable to everyone from the get-go, whilst also playing back to some of the character's strengths as an eco-friendly freedom fighter.
Again, this is way too heavy-handed and way too mature, even though he said at the beginning he wants it to be more mature, but that's just kind of strange when you have a silent protagonist who's a cartoon character and you want it to be super mature. And the idea that he would take a vow of silence for his purpose, that is probably like the least Sonic thing ever. Link doesn't talk, Mario doesn't talk, so many other protagonists of platformers don't talk. He's one of the rare ones who do, and he didn't used to, and to take that away is just kind of neutering him. When they brought classic Sonic back, they could have just had Jaleel White voice him, or someone like Jaleel White. It would have really elevated generations, especially since the story wasn't that good. So much of Sonic's character ended up being through quotes and through the words he spoke instead of what he did, because he's not a purposeful character. The only one who was like that really was Knuckles, because he had like an arc that he showed through his sprites. For Sonic and even Tails, that was never the case. Also, Sonic being a freedom fighter is not any more relevant than Sonic being in a band or Prince or this or that. It's not really what he's saying, he's just saying it calls back to that, but just thought I'd bring it up.
These have specifically been created to withstand the highest of speeds. Sonic is ironically the only one who can use them to their true abilities, but he also needs them. Without them on his feet, he wouldn't be able to run without injuring himself, which adds a nice level of vulnerability to the character.
He's wide-eyed and vulnerable.
I know this will be a controversial point for many, but I still believe that Sonic, at its core, should remain a 2D platformer with a race to the finish style formula. This is core to the Sonic experience. I just think it needs to evolve beyond the way we currently experience it. With these influences in mind, I think a mixture of these three games with a Sonic style influence would be a huge hit. Easier said than done, I know. I'd like there to be a mixture between high octane sessions where momentum plays a factor, but I'd also like to slow down occasionally so that we can enjoy some traditional platforming too. The reason behind giving Sonic the cloth as part of his character design was to give him a new zipline styled mechanic. I'd like to remove typical Sonic tropes such as springs, checkpoint poles and end of level signs to not add a level of disconnect to these worlds. I want the world to feel like it's alive as much as Sonic is. These features can still exist in gameplay, but maybe via the world itself. Mushroom Hill Zone is a great example of this being achieved.
So this is the point of the video where it really goes off the rails. For all intents and purposes, he just makes Sonic into a mishmash of other platformers. And not only that, he takes away the style of Sonic, taking away the bounce pads and the checkpoints and all that stuff. This is exactly what I meant when I said that he only takes like 5 things from the 30 years of Sonic. He strips everything away, even down to the bounce pads, because it doesn't really suit the reserved, quiet type game that he wants it to be, like his other favourite platformers. He also wants slow sections, like that's the worst part of Sonic 1, where you have to platform like it's anything else. Like, I'm not here, nobody's here for that. Nobody should be going to Sonic for that kind of experience, unless it's like a spin-off with a different character. Why would I want a spin-off with Sonic with this new world I don't care about, when I could have a spin-off playing as Amy or something, and have a similar gameplay style that makes some sort of sense?
Unfortunately, in an accident, he loses his shoes, which end up going into the shipping line, meaning he can't make use of his trademark speed. Don't worry, he finds some socks at least. Part 2. Sonic makes his way to the offices, full of high-tech robots fulfilling various corporate business roles.
Really? A stealth section? I guess it's just one level, it doesn't really matter.
When it comes to delivering the final blow, however, Metal just can't do it. There's a common ground that the two characters find within each other, and they both know that their fight is about more than themselves. Metal feels connected to the environment he's explored throughout the game and spares Sonic outright. They destroy Metal Sonic in a metal onslaught before cornering Sonic himself. This awakens a burning rage in Sonic, who gears up to take down Eggman himself.
This is a good time to mention that there are no Chaos Emeralds for some reason. I guess because in the movie there weren't Chaos Emeralds, he just went like blue lightning. It really would have been better if he just found a Chaos Emerald, to be honest. I'm not sure we need any more MacGuffins and strange powers, really. Otherwise it's going to start turning into Dragon Ball. So yeah, I'd rather this blue lightning didn't come back. Maybe we could have just had a 6th Sonic thing?
The game ends with Sonic tossing his trainers into the rubble of the Eggbotnik Industries building, signifying he no longer feels the need to run, and instead he simply walks off back into the forest, which he hopes can now begin to rebuild itself.
This is the part that really gets me. Like, what is this? Like, what is this? You're rebooting a franchise, and it just ends with him throwing away the shoes and never going fast again? It's over? The story's over? Like, is this a reboot, or is this just like a Bizarro spin-off? Like, it's a reboot of Sonic with nothing that has Sonic in it, and then it just ends. And so it never comes back again. It was just a complete waste of time. Has the most, like, overused cliche theme ever. Like, usually it wouldn't be worth, like, making a video about, but it's just so bizarre. I don't think I've ever seen a fan work that's so divorced from the source material. Other than the Dear SEGA video, obviously.
That is my concept for a Sonic the Hedgehog reboot, a game that takes itself seriously whilst presenting fast engaging platforming and an important message of humankind destroying our own world. Now, I'm sure this video is going to draw some criticism. Obviously, this concept is massively inspired by other 2D titles from recent years.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
No, it is.
Sonic is a character that pretty much can fit anywhere. The movie is a huge example of this succeeding.
Succeeding, yeah. Succeeding in a substantial way, no. The only reason Sonic fans accepted that it was so different was because it was a movie, it was toned down, it was lighthearted. Completely reinventing Sonic's source medium, his primary medium, that's pretty different.
And changing his core gameplay up ever so slightly.
Yeah, just slightly, just a little bit, just a tiny little bit.
To draw from modern influences and styles of gameplay that other games have established could be a great way of reinvigorating the spirit of him as a fast platformer character.
So yeah, in the end, you know, this was just a little fan project, basically, like a little thing, just a video idea. But even though I know Sonic can be a lot of things, there's a lot of things he can't be, and this is one of those things. There were plenty of things that were totally unremarkable, or I guess made some sort of sense, but I cut them out of the video for obvious reasons. I just find it extremely entertaining to watch someone just kind of completely unravel Sonic's legacy until there's literally like nothing of it left. But we can't be too down on it, because for him it's
the most effort and time that I've put into a project of this nature, and I really do hope that shows. Please do not think that I think my opinion is more important than anyone else's re Sonic. It's not. It's a super fan's perspective at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not quite as funny as the original video.
He's wide-eyed and vulnerable.
That wasn't what made it a success. That wasn't what made it. That wasn't what made it an.